Welcome to the Verdin Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. Welcome into a Monday recap. We've got a couple of Brian Kelly notes from his press conference. We got a list of LSU players who have stood out to us through this 3-week season. Got some SEC team grades. The way we'll do the grades, though, it's not like, your A category, your B category, stuff like that. We're just going to do A, B, C, D, F. One team that I think deserved an A, a B, a C, a D, and an F. Then we'll kind of, get into some rotational things that we might see change for LSU heading into this UCLA game. First things first, hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for joining into the show. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, support us. Keep joining in, 1 o'clock, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Let's get right into this Brian Kelly recap, though. He mentioned, slow start at South Carolina. It's kind of hard to ignore that. It's kind of hard to just, turn the cheek, so to speak. Okay, I think we could be back here. I don't know what's going on. Technology, interesting. Anyway, Brian Kelly talked about LSU's defense, talked about LSU in South Carolina, and they were in a situation where they got hit with a lot of adversity early on. They were able to bounce back. They were able to kind of, learn from this situation. And heading into UCLA, you're going to really need it. You're going to need these wrinkles, these moments, these adversity-filling lessons because UCLA has a veteran defense. Brian Kelly said their secondary stands out. It's experience. You've got veteran depth. You've got pieces in the transfer portal they were able to grab. He kind of mentioned the size of the D-line, but, the offensive line, it had its moments on Saturday. It had its ups. It had its downs. The best way I can describe the South Carolina LSU game is just a roller coaster. Up, down, up, down, up, down, both sides of the ball. A lot of goods, a lot of bads. The defense, I think, you saw a lot of progress from Zaya Alexander. You saw a lot of progress from just really that whole defensive front. The ends look phenomenal. The linebackers had their shining moments, if you will. The offense had a bit, I'm not going to say trouble starting out, but they just looked, a little confused, a little dazed. They did total up 36 points altogether, so shout out to them for that, being able to, come back and get that come from behind win. But Brian Kelly noted 14 points were left out there on the field, and that's something that LSU is going to have to address very, very shortly because, the USC game, you leave points on the field in the first quarter, and then you're in a situation where the momentum shifts, and you really just need one big moment, one big play, one big opportunity, quite frankly, to get you back into the swing of things. And when you're leaving points out there on the field, you're going to kind of kick yourself in the butt for afterwards, after the fact, because hindsight's always 20/20, of course, but in these situations, LSU is going to have to get a little more creative. Now, how do you do that? There's two ways that you can look at it. So he kind of talked about Garrett Nussmeier, and I agree with him. You do not win this South Carolina game without Garrett Nussmeier, 100%. He had the ball out, and he had to be as, accurate, as calculated, as confident as he was in that game. It worked out, and he's a good leader for this offense, despite any questions that anybody might have. At least that's the way that I look at it. What Brian Kelly wants to see from Garrett Nussmeier is just a little more risk assessment, a little less, deep shots, kind of. He called them a phone booth throw and tight coverage and tight spots, just fitting the ball into a good, area. But that's a lot of Nussmeier's game, right? Nussmeier is a real confident passer, the gunslinger, a lot of people are calling him. And to take that out of his game will kind of, it's not necessarily going to be difficult, but it might take some growing pains, and that might be what we've been seeing through 3 weeks. However, I have a good answer to it, and Brian Kelly alluded to it as well in his press conference. A guy like Mason Taylor, who has, I believe, the most career receptions from a tight end at LSU. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure LSU Football put that statistic out today. And with that being said, you're going to have to start incorporating him a lot more. Yeah, he's getting a lot of targets. Yeah, he's a big piece in this room, but he's a surefire target. I mean, on third down, fourth down, in the short field, in the red zone, what do they say? The field shrinks and the tight end grows. The vertical options are going to be there with Mason Taylor. And I think if you utilize him in that short field and that check down range, now you don't have Nuss taking as many shots down the field, which could not be a bad thing. I mean, taking the shots down the field are definitely mandatory, definitely necessary, and you're going to want to see Garrett Nussmeier get comfortable and do that continuously because he's good at it, and that's what has him as number 2 in the country in passing touchdowns. But Brian Kelly does have some truth to, incorporating Mason Taylor a little bit more in those schemes, how, on Saturday it could have kind of paid dividends and maybe helped them not leave the 14 points out there on the field. Going forward, I would really think they're going to kind of incorporate a lot more of that short field work. I mean, you even got a piece like Aaron Anderson that you can use, who has been a big boost to LSU's offense. We'll get into that one in this next segment. Wrapping up BK's notes, he said that Harold Perkins feels good in his new position. He's made progress. There's been ups and downs. He had a little missed tackle in the beginning, but it happens. It's football. It's bang, bang plays. Even the number sevens, even the superstars, even the extremely talented players, they can have a bad play too. It's all right. Everybody's human. Everybody's human except Caden Durham. I will say Caden Durham might be not from this planet. He just extremely shot out. And I'm not saying it was just, like nobody expected it. We expected him to play. We expected him to get a big boost, especially with John Emery going down. But 98 yards and 2 touchdowns, did not expect that. Shout out Caden Durham, because he might not be running back one yet. Might not be in a even a running back by committee type spot in the first, couple of weeks of this year. But by the end of the season, all right. Hopefully we're back. Hopefully we're in a little bit better situation now with the Wi-Fi. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell when it's going. It's hard to tell when it's stopping. I'm going to just keep going just in case we're on. Thanks to everybody for, tuning in and kind of going through it. So, LSU players who stood out, in my opinion. We can all agree to disagree. It's the perfect place for it. Everybody, go ahead and just, comment your reactions, your takes, any of your thoughts you have throughout this entire process. Garrett Nussmeier, number one player who stood out to me. I need to give our guy Garrett Nussmeier flowers. There's been some skepticism on if he's going to be the guy. There's been some skepticism on if it's going to work. I think it's worked very well. I think it's hard to not see it. I mean, he's number. Okay. Hopefully it's working. Hopefully we're back. Players who stood out. Garrett Nussmeier, first things first, number 15 in passing yards in the country. Number 3 in completions in the country. Number 2 in touchdowns in the country. It's hard to just, disagree with the numbers. The facts are the facts are the facts. Garrett Nussmeier has came out to an impressive 3-week start to this season, and I'd imagine that he's going to finish it. I'd imagine that he's going to keep adding layers to this offense. He's got a lot of pieces around him. He's got a lot of confidence in him, and he's got a lot of things going his way. One of those being Kyron Lacy being number 2 in touchdowns in the nation with 5. He's having good games. I really want to see Kyron Lacy used more. He's a really talented guy. I think he could go at the top of the draft boards, quite frankly. Is he going to go first round? I feel like that's only time will tell. It might be a tall task, but I think he's got the capabilities of it. I think he's a really talented guy, and like I said, I would like to see him get utilized a lot more, just because he's got that big game capability where if you get him in space, if you get him in a situation where he's open, or he's in a favorable situation one-on-one, because if you don't double him, you can't cover him, you could see some fireworks just like you did last season with Malik Neighbors, with Brian Thomas Jr., and in recent years with all of the plethora of wide receivers that have come out of LSU. Third player who has stood out to me, Caden Durham. We talked about him a little bit. Let's talk about him a little bit more, because he just did that much. I mean, he announced himself to the college football world. 98 yards, 2 touchdowns, y'all know. But do you know, in his 2 games, when he played in Nichols and when he played in South Carolina, he's averaging 6.1 yards per carry. Caden Durham is averaging over half your down and distance on a regular set of downs. Each carry. Give him the ball 2 times. First down, first down, first down, first down, theoretically speaking. Caden Durham, and this is not in order. Nussmeier, Kyron Lacy, Caden Durham. I really think Caden Durham is the number 1 player that stood out to me. As of this Saturday, I hope to see him continue to grow and expand on the season. We got our guy, AMO Cat, in the chat. He's saying Aaron Anderson had a nice little look from Nussmeier. He had Taylor wide open. I think, speaking while we're on the topic, Aaron Anderson, he had some good catches, right? And yeah, I think Mason Taylor is going to see a lot more targets and a lot more incorporation going forward. But shout out to Aaron Anderson for leading LSU in receiving yards. If you would have had to guess, hey, through 3 weeks, who's going to be the receiving yard leader for LSU? I don't think anybody would have guessed him. You would have got some Kyron Lacey, a lot of Kyron Lacey, and rightfully so. You would have got some C.J. Daniels. You would have got some Chris Hilton because you wouldn't have foreseen this injury coming. You wouldn't have guessed Aaron Anderson, more than likely. And if you did, shout out to you. You need to start gambling, hopping on a show for the top 3 segments because we had a little rough patch this week. But 15 yards per carry for Aaron Anderson. Shout out to him. He's been balling. Another big standout. We got 2 defensive standouts. We just had 4 offensive players in a row, right? We need to show the defense some love. Zy Alexander, he's back to 100%. He got LSU's first interception on the year. Yeah, he kind of went down a little bit. Brian Kelly's saying it's cramps. It's nothing to do with the knee, nothing to be worried about, nothing to be scared for. He'll be back healthy this week. And he's been a good pairing with Ashton Stamps. I mean, does the defense have its moments? Of course. It's growing. They have a new coordinator, a new staff. What do you think? The defense is just going to come out and be perfect? The team is just going to come out and be lights out? I mean, we'd love it. Sure. Everyone's always going to have something to complain about, but let's be realistic. You don't even have to be optimistic. I'll be optimistic about LSU. That's kind of my thing. But realistic, it's hard to just say that LSU's defense sucks because they've been in a lot of situations where, like on Saturday, they get boat raced 17-0 to start the game, right? And then they kind of answer back, hold them down. Yeah, the quarterback gets injured and the backup comes in, but they still put on a great performance. I mean, Sage Ryan gets the forced fumble. Harold Perkins recovers it. Zy Alexander in the back of the end zone getting a takeaway. Braden Swinson just completely pinning his ears back and running like his hair is on fire 24/7. The defense is looking phenomenal. At least if you're comparing it to what it could have been, what it was last year, all the woes, all the worries. I think this defense is on the way up, and I think by the end of the year, you're going to have a really, really, really good scheme. Could be wrong, but I think I'm going to be right. Last person that has stood out to me, Whit Weeks. He's leading LSU in tackles, and he's been a phenomenal addition to the linebacker room. He's been a piece that a lot of people wanted to see incorporated even last year in his freshman season because he has that Harold Perkins-esque ability of just being able to get into the pocket, create havoc, and just, bully around some people. And I just think the fact that you can dabble him in, dabble Perk in, dabble Greg Penn in, sometimes Major Burns at the star if he's going to slide back in there from safety. I mean, look, you've got a lot of pieces that you can throw over the middle of the field, a lot of depth and a lot of rotations, a lot of lineups, a lot of options. And one of my big keys for this past week was to get creative. See what works on defense. See what you can do to create havoc. And I think they did. I believe they got 5 sacks. Something to build off of. Damn good job, guys. Real quick before we hop into our last segment, thank you to Happy Dad for sponsoring the team through college football season. Happy Dad's the best tasting hard seltzer on the market. Gluten-free, no artificial flavors, low in sugar, and you know where to get it. Going grocery shopping, hit up Rouse's, hit up Walmart, hit up Albertsons, or hit up happydad.com. Code Verdin15 will get you 15% off at checkout. We have a link in the description. Thank you for the support once again, Happy Dad. Let's keep this show rolling. SEC team grades. I'm going to debut this new segment. I don't know what to call it. If you got a nice creative name, if you're feeling froggy, drop something in the chat. But as of right now, every week, I'm going to be giving an A, a B, a C, a D, and an F to 5 SEC teams. 1 for each letter grade. We're not going to do 2 A's, 2 B's, all this stuff. I'm going to find a team that's deserving of each grade. Sometimes it might be tough, but guess what? We're going to hold to it. First things first, let's go, how should we do this? First segment, first debut. Should we go F to A to F? I think we'll go A to F. Sounds more interesting. Because the A's, everybody sees them coming. This week's A. The SEC team that has stood out to me the most. That, you know what? I'll give them a damn A+. Texas. I know. I'll give you a second to simmer on that one. Everyone's going to kill me in the comment section for it. Guess what? I'm going to be realistic. I'm going to give them their flowers. They're entering a conference in the SEC where, sure, they haven't played big SEC powerhouses yet. We've got to wait to see how they react to it. But they have played the defending national champions, and they defeated them. Yeah, Quinn Ewers is hurt, but Arch Manning came in and looked good. If Quinn comes back and is able to kind of just look the part again and play back to his speed, then I think Texas can stay in the A range for a while. And there's nothing wrong with falling to a B because this week's B, I have Georgia. It was a solid team. They had a rocky win versus Kentucky. They kind of looked a little rough. I mean, hell, the first half of the Clemson game at the beginning of the year, albeit a huge victory in the end, first couple of moments you were wondering. You were just having questions. And I think that's kind of why they're at the B spot for me right now. Nothing wrong with it. A's and B's, bro. Get degrees. You know what I'm saying? Hell, C's get degrees too if you really squint your eyes hard enough. And at the C this week, we got LSU. Rough spot, I know. We don't want LSU at the C spot. I don't want LSU at the C spot. I want them at the A spot, of course. But they're under exceeding expectations. They had a good comeback win, so I feel I might bump it to a C+. We might give them some damn bonus points if they win against UCLA and bump them to the B. But as of right now, I got to keep them at a C. You don't know what you can get from them sometimes. The Ole Miss game will be a toss-up. Alabama game will be a little scary just because of that mobility that you'll see from Milroe. And honestly, I just really don't know how we're going to attack something like that. If Sellers was running all over them, it's possible that you contain quarterbacks in the future, but it'll have to take a lot of growth. So that's why I'm going to put them at the C. It's unknown. It's a coin flip sometimes. Let's move into the interesting parts. Who got the D? Who got the F? The D, I'm going to give it to Miss State. Miss State earned a D grade with this performance to Toledo. Lost 41-17. One more time. Lost to Toledo 41-17. Never saw that coming, quite frankly. Even after the week 1 performance against Arizona State, losing 23-30. Mississippi State's 0-2 to start the season. And a lot of people are thinking, how the hell are they not an F? Because the F is the initial of the school that I'm going to put for that grade just because they're in some murky water. And we're not trying to make no damn pun or play on words on the swamp, but it's grimy. F, Florida. F is for Florida, partner, because Billy Napier might be on the way out. He's on the hot seat. Florida loses to A&M at home, and they got Mississippi State next week. So the D and the F get to combat each other. And next Monday, we'll break it down to you and just give the grades out. But as of right now, I got Florida as one of the worst SEC teams. I mean, yeah, Vanderbilt's losing. Mississippi State's losing every damn game, damn near. Vanderbilt did have a good week 1 performance where they dropped a 50 ball. And they got annihilated in week 2 by Georgia State. It wasn't annihilated. I won't say that word. It was an embarrassing defeat. I'll use that one. But with that being said, Florida, it's just hard to put them at any other spot. You can't be their advocate and get them up a letter grade to a D. Simply just cannot. If you have that many questions at head coach, at quarterback, at just almost every position, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I can't be your advocate. Hopefully Billy Napier, gets some things figured out. But I think right now he might be looking for a new job. I don't know. I'm just going by what I'm hearing. I could be hearing wrong. And on Monday we could correct it. Thank you for joining our Monday stream. Like I said, SEC grades coming out every Monday. Got Brian Kelly press notes every Monday as well. He's doing his press conference at noon, so we'll hop on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1 o'clock here on this YouTube channel. If you want to join it, if you want to be a part of the community, hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. If you tend to kind of forget and kind of not check the clock, when 1 p.m. rolls around, hit that bell so that notification comes right through. You tap it, boom, come in, like the stream, get your daily dose of LSU football news. Appreciate everybody once again. Thanks to Happy Dad once again. Y'all have a great day.